This podcast is sponsored by Intentional Living magazine, your ultimate guide created to help infuse purpose and passion into your everyday life. From expert features that provide valuable insights to thought-provoking content that sparks transformation, this magazine, an online platform, is a perfect source of inspiration for all of those of us who truly believe in the power of intentional choices.
So, in this episode, we decided to talk about our books, didn't we? Because we've realised we don't really talk about our book.
No.
Well, my chapter, your book, #1 best-selling authors, and the reason why we wrote our books.
Yeah, we don't. But they are really powerful and really, really useful. And there's purpose behind it. And so we wanted to share that. So have a listen. Enjoy. If you've any questions, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Have you fixed your bra, Claire?
Yeah, fixed it.
Welcome. How are you today?
Welcome. I'm good.
I'm glad you fixed your bra. You look very beautiful in pink today.
Thank you. You look very beautiful in green.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So today we're going to talk about books, our own books in particular, because...
Did you know that we are #1 best-selling authors?
Did you know? I knew.
You knew. I
Did
knew.
you?
But
I
we
knew.
don't
So
really
no, we don't talk about it. No. And it was 2 years ago, over 2 years ago now, that I published The Fading Woman. And yeah, and I feel like we forget about it, and they are really important parts of our offering to people who may want to work with us, who may not be able to access one-to-one with us, or who may want to dip their toe in. And we forget about it. And actually, it's a really important part of the funnel of the sales process, or the introduction
coming into
of
our
world.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I just thought we could talk about that.
Well, yeah, let me interview you on your book then.
Okay.
And then you can interview me on mine.
Okay.
The disappointing thing is we haven't got the actual book with us today,
Doesn't
which we
matter.
realised, didn't we?
Doesn't matter.
You know what? You know where I'm like, me visual.
I birthed it.
Touchy-feely thing. So the book is called The Fading Woman. And it, for me, I'll just give you a little bit of feedback from me as a reader. And I found this amazing woman a couple of years ago, and I bought her book. And for me, it was a really great insight into how I was living, and how even though I was preaching some of the stuff, there was lots of stuff in that book, the practical tips and the coaching questions in it for me to journal on, to really explore how I was living my life. And even though I was well, I was still a fading woman in parts of my life. And I loved the stuff around the toxic load.
Yep.
And the chemicals that we put in our body unknowingly. That was like a massive light bulb moment for me. And just the way you put your personality into the book, it wasn't like, oh, this is Professor Jules Kelly with like dead serious big words. Even though you do know big words and you use them, you make it really, really easy and simple so anyone can understand and read it. And it's a brilliant practical guide to get you into changing your life and well-being.
Thank you for that. That was a beautiful introduction.
So can you tell us, because for other people who won't have listened to your story, because that was so many podcasts back, tell us the reason why you wrote the book.
Okay. So I wrote the book after I became well. So I was sick for a lot of years. I'm going to say I was sick for a lot of years, but I was functioning. So I lived with a condition called fibromyalgia. It's a musculoskeletal pain condition, and it appears randomly by way of pain and chronic fatigue, but throughout random parts of the body. So one day it might be my legs hurting, the next day it could be my fingernail, like literally it could be anywhere. And for me, the main parts for me were my face, and I had acute face pain syndrome. That was part of the diagnosis process. And my hips, my legs were just so painful. And I got to the point where I was literally bedbound. And it was awful. it defined me. It started to define who I was. I didn't go to birthday parties. I didn't go to family events. I've not been to any of the big events. My brother's 40th, my sister's. I didn't go to any of them. And it was just acceptable that I wasn't there. And part of me then used it as an excuse. Looking back, I can't go because I've got this. And then I had this massive period of stress in 2017. Huge stress. And it was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I literally hit the wall and had a full physical, mental breakdown. And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. And I'd worked so hard for the best part of 47 years. And, but my body just said enough. My nervous system said, enough. Just keep her breathing, keep her heart pumping, enough. And it was that whole realization. And one day the doctor had given me more tablets. I was on so much opiate pain medication. And the doctor had given me beta blockers because I had really bad anxiety through this period of stress. And actually, what I really needed was counselling. But I was given more meds. And I was sat in my mum's garden and it was sunshine and I had a cup of tea and I was chatting to her, and I could feel my body shutting down. And I thought, oh, this is it. I'm dying. I'm going to the light. And I was dead calm. But my mum obviously panicked, phoned Mark, and Mark came to get me. I slept for 2 days. And then when I came round, I realised I wasn't dead. I thought, that's it. This is my breakthrough. This is no way to live. And so I started a process of learning how my body worked, what was causing it for me to feel this way. Why was I feeling this way? Why didn't the doctors understand what was going through? Why did the doctors keep giving me tablets that didn't do anything other than made me feel really bad? Why didn't anyone get this? Full on victim mode. And I say that with love because I loved that version of Jules. I did love her because she went through so much, but she was in full on victim mode. And I
when you say victim mode, what do you mean? What was the
why is it? Why
is it me?
Why is it me?
Were you blaming other people?
Well, I wasn't blaming myself.
Yeah.
And life's hard and all of those things. And you can, you get stuck in this spiral.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, actually, it's not the doctor's job to make me well, but understanding then why I was sick. And the more that I learned, and now I'm a one energy, and I didn't know that at the time, but I'm a one energy. So learning is massively important to me. And I needed to understand why and how I could make it better. And then when I discovered how I could make it better, I was bloody excited about sharing with people. Look, you don't have to live like this. You really don't have to live like this. And certain people didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So I went on this one-woman crusade to think, well, if I've got better and there's all these people that are ill, then they need to know, right? So I wrote a program. It was called the Life Audit and Radical Self-Care Program, because that's what I did. I literally audited my life and I set about a radical change in the way that I looked after myself. Program, wrote it all, filmed it all, did it all. And it's like tumbleweed. No one wants to know that. Because actually, the truth is, no one actually realises that they're in that spiral until they hit the wall.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is making people aware that this is stuff that's happening to your body without you actually necessarily knowing about it until it's too late, or understanding that when your body's not working as it should or as it's supposed to, that your body is trying to tell you something. And then all of the chemicals and the way that our body is clogged up with stuff. And
like what? Give us some examples.
Like all of the toxins that we take in. So for me, my body was affected by the medication that I was taking, right? So I was in massive amounts of pain. So the doctor gave me medication. So the medication then didn't get rid of my pain, but it gave my body more work to do.
Yeah.
And the side effects of the medication then created other symptoms, which I then needed more medication. And so then my body wasn't functioning properly. And then you don't go to the loo, or you don't do this, or you don't sleep, or whatever is going on, your whole body is then out of kilter, and it's just your body is struggling.
Yeah.
Your body's really struggling. I didn't understand any of that. But then when I saw it, I couldn't unsee it.
Yeah.
And one of my gifts, as you know, is to break down the complicated into easily to understand ways of explaining, because the medical fraternity can be bamboozling.
Yeah.
They can talk in lots of jargon and that you don't necessarily understand, but ultimately our body is our responsibility to look after. And we live in a consumer society consumerism is about selling to us from the minute we wake up in the morning to the minute we go to sleep. And we want to be thinner, and we want to be faster, and we want to be happier, and we want to do all of the things. We don't actually want to do the work. So what do? We get shortcuts. With the shortcuts comes chemicals, and with the chemicals comes disease, ultimately. And the more that I learned, the more frustrated and a bit angry and pissed off I was, and thinking, well, why is this allowed?
I know.
Why is this stuff even allowed to happen? So that's what I did. And then I thought, well, somebody said to me, Jules, you should write a book. And I go, oh, all right, then I'll do that. I'll do that, then I'll write a book. So I wrote a book.
Can I ask you, what was the reason why you called it The Fading Woman?
Okay, I called it The Fading Woman because I read a poem by the beautiful Donna Ashworth, and it was called To the Woman Who Was Slowly Fading Away. And when I read it, it made me cry, and it made me think, shit, that's me. And it starts, to the woman who has lost her spark. This is to the woman who's lost her spark, to the woman whose get up and go has got up and gone. This is for you. This is to remind you that you don't have to be all of the things to all of the people all of the time. You didn't sign up for that. And it goes on and on and on. And I thought,
I'm getting emotional as usual. That's such a powerful poem.
So powerful. And it said, there are parts of you that need to be brought back again. And if anyone in your life is not okay with that, they're not your people. And yeah, it hit me really hard. And I thought, holy shit, that's me. Where have I gone? Who am I? Who even am I? Where has that vibrant kid gone? And that was the catalyst. So she was called The Fading Woman. And I got in touch with Donna and said, Donna, can I use your poem? Can I reference your poem in the back of the card? She was lovely, and she did a bit of a press release with me. I mean, Donna's massive now. She writes some beautiful poetry.
Isn't she? She's such a talent.
Such a beautiful lady. And she talks to real women. She talks to real people. And I think most of her poetry is about women. I feel like, or life in general. So that's why the book's called The Fading Woman, because that was me. I was fading, and I knew that if I was fading, and my life wasn't bad, right? You know, I didn't grow up in abject poverty. I had a good childhood. I've got beautiful parents. I had great grandparents. I had all that going on. My life wasn't bad, but I knew that if me coming from my upbringing, and I was still living like this, and there was people a lot worse than me also suffering, and people just like me.
Yeah,
and so, and the system that I was part of, or had become part of over that 12-year period, didn't support anything other than a medicated response. It really pissed me off. And
how much did it piss you off? Because we said we're going to start being really honest about this.
It really pissed me off. It really made me angry, to the point of I was going to speak out.
Yeah.
Right? I was going to speak out, and in a world where and especially in this online space, it can be a nasty place to be sometimes. It can be a harsh place to be. And there are certain people with levels of influence, let's say, that can shut you down in seconds. Because if they don't believe, then nobody else believes. And actually, I felt like a really lone voice sometimes. And some people just don't want to hear it.
Because some people are not ready.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But it's about, this is all part of this whole journey that I've been on, right? And again, writing a book for me wasn't about, I'm going to write a book because I want to be an author. I'm going to write a book because that's the easiest way to get to the most people possible in the most cost-effective way for people that want to know that there is choice.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe, and things are changing slowly, but when I was going through all of that, I don't believe I had a choice.
Yeah.
I don't believe I did.
Yeah.
Obviously I did.
Yeah. But you didn't believe that you did.
I didn't know I did.
You were just that stuck with that.
My belief system was that when you get sick, you go to the doctors and the doctor gives you a tablet to fix you. That was my belief system. I grew up with a dad that was sick. My dad's had Crohn's disease since he was 21. And I've grown up with my dad at mealtimes having his tablets. That was part of my belief system. You take tablets to make you better. Or at least to live. It was just a normal thing. Yeah. And actually, what would have been really beneficial for me would have been to know some of the core things about how to look after your body beyond what we get taught at school. Because I remember being taught about the heart in O-level biology. So I knew how to draw the heart and where the valves went in and out, and I knew about periods. That I can't think much about biology, what else we learn about our body and about looking after our body. We knew we had to brush our teeth because we only get 2 sets, right?
I mean, didn't do any neuroscience or brain health or anything.
Nothing. But I guess it's relatively new. Science is developing, but yeah, so I was pissed off that there was no other choice. And I think I must have been about 9 years in to my fibromyalgia journey when the doctor I was offered 6 sessions of talking therapy. That was it, rather than medication. 6 sessions of talking therapy, and the rest of it was opiates. So I went about learning, getting myself well, and I got well. I was like, oh my, I found the people that I needed to learn from, right? And my friends had bought me, my friend Nil had bought me, she'd gone to an oil evening and she'd made me a little roller ball up and it was gorgeous, and I thought, oh, I loved it straight away, you know, like you are with smell. I was like, oh my God, I love that. So she was telling me about it, and this was before I had my my moment in Mum's garden. And for my birthday in the April, the girls bought me a little set of oils. They were the top 10 oil kit, and they were like a little box of treasure. I absolutely loved them. And so when I had this moment, I thought, right, well, how can I use these? These have obviously come into my life for a reason. How can I use these? And I said to Neil, I need to speak to your oil lady. So she introduced me to Kelly Sheridan Hornby, is a beautiful soul. And I went to her and said, look, I need to do something. I need to do something different. Teach me what you know. And the first thing we did was we looked at my cellular health, and we talked about how my body was made up of cells and all of the things, and how I was going to nourish them. And then I started learning about what's in our food chain, and so I started taking these supplements, and we've talked about them before.
When you learned about the food chain,
literally the whole thing just makes you really angry. So the first thing I did was started to nourish my cells, and I started to take the lifelong vitality supplements that we've talked about before, and I've been taking them ever since. So my body is nourished, my cells are nourished, so that they. Again, I would talk about the ferns. And if you think about a beautiful fern sitting on your windowsill at home, in your kitchen, you give it water and it gives daylight and you have a little chat to her, then you know that the fern's going to do well. if you give it Diet Coke or maybe a bit of Fanta, spray a bit of perfume on its leaves and maybe put it in the cupboard overnight, you know, and I know that that fern's not going to do so well. And our body's made up of trillions of ferns. Now, when you start to look at your body like the beautiful home that she is, that needs you to water her ferns, then you start to make better informed decisions, because you don't want to kill them off. Because, you know, you get taught at school you only get 2 sets of teeth. Guess what? You only get one body, right? We don't get taught to look after it. We don't. So that was what we did to start with. And then I started looking at the food chain, right? Well, what's in my food? And then I learned about hormones and what's a hormone? Yeah, we learned about periods, but what does hormone do? Hormones are chemical messengers that make things work in your body or don't work. What stops them working? Toxins, chemicals. We're far more plant than we are machine. So we're putting chemicals in our body. Where are the chemicals coming from? Everywhere. What do you mean everywhere? In our food, in our personal care products, in the air that we breathe, in the household products,
candles,
all of the stuff. Well, okay, so these things give us cancer. They're full of neurotoxins. They're full of endocrine disrupting chemicals, so your hormones don't work. Why is this allowed?
I know.
We're like, really? Like that? And then people come to us and go, oh, my hormones are up the chute. Are they? What does that mean? I don't know, but my husband says, am I right? Oh, and like, literally, there's just no understanding. And I get it. And if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah. And that's why you wrote the book.
And that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah.
So...
and all of what you're talking about is covered in the book, isn't it? Everything that you're talking about right now in more detail.
And it's literally auditing life. So when you come to read The Fading Woman, it will come at the right time for you. And I had an email this morning, a lady that has started the book, and people just download the life to me in messages, which is beautiful because it means that they're in a place of transition. They're in a place of, they're going to start making difference.
Yeah.
But if they don't know, they don't know. So it's almost like you start at the beginning and we look at life as, I guess what the book allowed me to do was to share the knowledge that I'd gleaned on my journey to wellness. And if I could do it, then I believe anyone else can do it. And the book was a way to break down the process in chunks, so that I could share my story, to give hope that it's doable, because I'm just an ordinary person, just like you.
Yeah.
You're not ordinary, obviously. You're like super special. But all of the people that I've met that have been diagnosed with a autoimmune disease or fibromyalgia or whatever it is, I know that they have had adverse experiences in their life.
Also known as trauma.
Also often known as trauma. Some people don't like the word.
But we like adverse experiences.
Yeah, adverse. And some of them are childhood experiences. Some of you know about. Some of you don't know about. What's big for you is not necessarily big for the person that's going through it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I could ask a question to someone, have you had lots of trauma in your life? And they'll go, no, nothing. And actually, when they tell you the story, you think, holy shit, they have been through the mill. But to them, it's normal, because to them, it's their life. Its perception is that is what life is supposed to be like. And it isn't. But we have this response to trauma that's held in our body. And that's what creates dis-ease, the breakdown or the blockage of energy flow. That's my opinion, that's my belief, and I'm sharing it. And that is what I was doing with the book. But not everyone, like you say, is ready to hear it. And so we then become conspiracy theorists and all of that sort of stuff.
But then that goes back to the clinical trial.
Yeah, of course.
And the life freedom method, because now we've got a science-backed method, which is your method with a mix of something from me.
Yeah.
And it's now been proven.
Yeah. And the life freedom method was born through the Life Audit and Radical Self-Care program, plus bringing you on board and amalgamating the stuff that you bring and the neuroscience and all that powerful stuff that I outsourced as part of that original process is now done in-house. And then we use that whole method with all of the clients that we work with
as well.
All of them, all of the modalities. So we've got this huge toolkit, but we're all about celebrating individuality. So we have got the framework, and we follow the framework, but not everyone gets the same because we're all different, right? And so, so the life audit starts with, right, let's have a look at what your life looks like. So we look at the seesaw of life. We look at the balancing act of this beautiful body that we've got and all of our roles and responsibilities, and look at, and we did in the last episode, we did, or the last couple of episodes, we did the life performance quiz. And that's kind of evolved again since then. But it's looking at life like a seesaw and going, right, well, where's your work-life balance? Are you drinking enough water? What's your nutrition like? What are your relationships like? What's your toxic load like? What's your hormonal health like? And we go through all of these different pillars and break down life at that granular level. And then when we can look at that and then articulate it in a way that allows the reader or the person that we're working with to visualize that in their own life, right?
And visualize it, feel it.
And really feel it,
yeah.
And when you are poorly and when you've got a condition and it becomes your life, it's really difficult to see the wood for the trees sometimes. And actually just having someone to listen to you is a great starting point. But what we won't let you do is wallow. And we say that with the most love because we work with the archetypes and victim and bully work together. And you just tell you, like, you beat yourself up. God, you're just rubbish. Why are you so rubbish? Why can't you walk up the stairs? Like, seriously, it's not that hard. Well, that doesn't help you get up the stairs. It just makes you feel shit about yourself. But you can get into that loop. So it's about then how we then start to really work, and we work on mindset and we work on the physical at the same time. And so the other thing that we bring in obviously is the plant medicine and
human design,
the embodiment, plant medicine, aromatherapy, all of the embodiment work, the meditation stuff, which is obviously the two sides of the brain that I will let you explain. Bringing the corpus callosum together. Do you like that? But it's about working holistically. And one of the ladies that one of our new clients is coming on, and her husband said to me, "What makes you different?" I said, "Well, because we're not just dealing with one bit of it. We're dealing with the whole lot. This isn't a quick fix. We are in and we will walk beside you. We are doing this journey with you and we are walking with you too.
While you do the work.
While you do it. We're holding space for you while you do it. We're here for you when you're crying. We're here from you when you're celebrating. And we're here from you when you're changing this mindset. And we're taking back control and reclaiming your body, passion, purpose and joy." And so, that's why we're different, because we're not here to take a pill. We're not here to say, just do yourself a couple of affirmations every morning and you'll be rocking and rolling. No, there's more to it than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there is a lot more to it than that. And that's why the work that we do is so bloody powerful. And that's why...
And this is why in the conversation in the car this morning, we said on the way here, we don't talk about the book enough. No. Your book is amazing. It's a way of people seeing what you did to change and transform. And we should talk about that. Yeah, and the investment and people, And it's on Amazon. And it's how much? $11.11, and it's on Kindle, I think, $5.55. But it's a book that you can literally turn to any page and read. Yeah. And there's bits of it. So again, understanding. And you can write in it. Yeah. And understanding that actually, oh my God, no wonder I get a headache all the time. I'm burning candles that are full of chemicals that are really bad. Really bad. You might have kids that have got ADHD and you've got plugins
in your house that are pumping poison out into your house, that it's okay, the government allow the people to sell it and manufacture it, and it's full of neurotoxins. Blows my absolute tiny mind. There's a lot, we mop our floor with Zoflora and stuff like that. Our poor animals are lying on those floors. They are super toxic. But our house smells good.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
It's absolutely
bonkers.
But
you do think, it wouldn't be sold if it was so bad, was what I used to think. Would it be so?
Oh my God.
And now, I mean, the Yankee Candle situation, what happened with Josh's girlfriend, Millie, and she left the Yankee Candle on. I mean, I know again, teenage girl, wants a room to smell lovely. She's fell asleep. She's left it on. The next day, the room was full of soot. The door was shut. And she had liquid coming out of her nose, black liquid.
Yeah.
And I said to Josh,
she's an A&E,
don't
she?
buy it. She couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
She's okay now, but it's like, that's off one night. And I think people see the warning sign on candles to say, oh, it's because it's flammable. But it's not.
No.
It's if you read it carefully, it's the chemicals that are in it. So there's none of that in our house now. It's just diffusers and oils.
If you look on the back of a washing up liquid bottle, you can see it's like that. If you look on the back of a washing up liquid bottle, it says to dispose of the bottle in a council approved toxic waste site.
And that's going into our water, into our drains, into
all
the
of
seas, to our fish. It's so sad.
It's all of it.
And even bleach.
Bleach is probably, yeah, so it is massive and it can feel quite scary. But what I would say is when you start knowing this stuff and you start thinking of your ferns, I know this is a bit bonkers, but it's almost like every decision that you make, then you go, okay, do I want to choose that?
Yeah, and it's a choice.
And it's a choice. And that's absolutely perfect. And if you choose it, that's absolutely fine. But know that ultimately your body is working with what you are giving her or him. So just be mindful of it. So there is an app called Think Dirty, and you can look at your products, you can scan your products, and it'll give you red, amber, and green. And the green is clean, classed as clean, go for it. Amber, it'll tell you which bits of it are amber. And then the red, it'll tell you which chemicals are in there that are red. And it will also tell you which body systems it's affecting. And like, is it really worth, like when there's carcinogens in there, the 1 in 2 of us get cancer now, which is horrific. But then for me, I can see how it's happening. But then you can think, right, well, actually, is it worth that? Is it worth risking that by using this product long term? And again, with the food stuff and understanding the food and understanding like organic. I used to think organic was something that middle class posh people used to have. I didn't really understand why. But bottom line is, the organic, if you eat organic, then you are reducing the amount of glyphosate that you're taking in your body. And glyphosate is one of the biggest hormone disruptors, and it's in our food chain. It's in our farming. It's a crop fertilizer. It's like weed killer, and we're taking it in
our food. What is it that's in crisps?
It's glyphosate because of the spraying the crops. It's in our soil. So again, unless it's organic, anything the groceries is literally, the chances are it's all been sprayed at some point, and you can't wash it out. It's ingrained in. So again, just about being aware, being knowledgeable about what's happening. And then once I started to learn about that, then I started to make better choices, and I started to get rid of stuff and swap stuff out. So I didn't think, right, it's all going, but I thought, right, well, how do I swap out toilet cleaner then? How do I do that? And then I just learned, and I learned like making stuff. Yeah. And then I started getting creative, like, so it's about, I began going back to what our grandmas or great grandmas did, and they worked with bicarbonate of soda and lemon and vinegar and all of that stuff. Go back to basics. Food. Go back to basics, prepare a meal from scratch out of things called vegetables rather than things with a peely lid off, and microwave in plastic. And the plastic then seeps into the food, and then we eat the food, and the plastic is then in our body, and our body needs to deal with it. So all of these things are for us is about making it easy for our body to be the body that they were meant to be.
Yeah.
Rather than a machine that's clogged up. Because you can start to think of it as a bit of a machine and a bit of a production line.
Yeah. And that is a very, I don't know, when I say this, I mean, it's a very masculine way of thinking. It is about, we are thinking of it as a doing machine. We're here to do things, get things done. And it's like, no, let's stop and let's really be conscious of what we're doing and feel and think about what we're putting into our body.
The reason that I feel like looking at it as a machine rather than a living organism for the purpose of functionality. You know, like if you think about a production line in a factory, if a part of that goes wrong, it just won't work. So like if the packaging part goes wrong, you can be making biscuits and the packaging goes wrong, you can't sell them because you can't put them in a packet. It's the same with our body.
Car. If you're making a car,
you put a diesel in a petrol engine, you're knackered. Again, we don't. We just blame our body for failing us, and it's not that way. Yeah, it's not that way. And so much of our illness, chronic illness, is lifestyle related. Most of it.
Yeah.
Lifestyle related. So yeah, that's why I wrote it. And to make it accessible and make people understand that there is a choice and show them how to do it.
And so where is it available for anyone listening?
It's available on Amazon. I think it's available on
our website as well, I think, isn't it?
Is it Waterstones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Online, you can order it in, but
Amazon,
easy.
and it's on our website, spaceandfreedom.com as well, isn't
the
it?
link through there, and you can get it on Kindle. Yeah.
So if anyone's listening and wants to buy the book, if any of this resonates, absolutely, that's your first port of call.
Yeah, and you don't need to be fading. We need to be fighting back. And again, we're going to write a new book for the Life Freedom Method. I don't know what that's going to be called. Maybe it's going to be called the Life Freedom Method, or maybe it's going to be called The Vibrant Woman. Who knows?
Ooh, yeah.
So let's talk about the Successful Mind.
Yeah.
So the Successful Mind is another publication that you were guest invited.
Yeah.
To
be a
join
co-author.
some massive names in that book.
Yeah. So if anyone's watching on YouTube, it is behind me. Jules forgot to bring yours, didn't you? So we normally bring it and have it on the back of the set. So that's it, with the big bright yellow cover. And yeah, it was just as we went into lockdown. So you're talking like March, April 2020, and I had someone approach me on LinkedIn to say, his name is Eric Severson. I don't know whether I ever say that right. That's how you spell it. It's Seversen, Eric Severson. And he is an American who lives in LA. And his PA messaged me on LinkedIn and said, your LinkedIn profile looks really interesting. It says that you're a yoga teacher, but you teach the neuroscience of yoga and meditation. And I was like, yeah. They said, well, you're interested in being part of a book. Eric is looking, he's written a few books, and he's looking, while we're in this period, he said he can't be bothered writing another book all by himself. So he's coming out to the world and looking for 30 odd authors to write a book, and the title is called The Successful Mind. How do you think what you do would fit with what we're saying? And I was like, absolutely. So I got on a call with him on Zoom, really great guy, and he asked me about how I think it would work. So I explained about yoga, about my yoga teaching, and the yoga philosophy and yoga science, and he was like, oh wow, yeah, you can absolutely see how that would fit into the book, because it is around mindset. And they said the types of people that are going to be part of the book are, he said, there's doctors, there's people from the medical clinical profession, there's life coaches, there's business coaches, obviously with that, there's high performance coaches, people in the personal development world, and people from all over the world. So right me a summary of, or, you know, give me some headlines and send it in. So I did. And then he was like, yeah, absolutely. Do you want to be part of it? So yeah. So the book was, I don't class myself as a writer. I actually really enjoyed when I actually took myself away. I had to go to my mum's house at the weekend to write the chapter. It was just one chapter and it took me a whole weekend to write it because I have to get into the zone and type it and go back and change it. And so I wrote it in a weekend. It had to be in for the deadline because obviously the editors over in the US, because it was done by this publishing house and it was getting published properly, I was like, well, I don't know what I need to do. Let me just write it. Had to be under 5,000 words or 3,000. And I sent over 5,000 words, as you know, because I have a lot to say.
God love
so
you.
He sent it back and said, sorry, if we gave everyone 5,000 words, the book's going to be that long. It's not going to go to print. So we shortened it to 3, and it was, they come back and they were like, yeah, that's great. What does this mean? They questioned a couple of things. So I explained it in simple terms. And basically my chapter was yoga and the neuroscience behind it. And it's in chapter 23. The book's called The Successful Mind. And it was me explaining how yoga and meditation and the likes of breathwork can really help us change the chemicals in our body and our brain, and doing it from, again, like you, a simple explanation so that people buy it. Because what I found was that when you talk to people about yoga or meditation, so if I say to people, have you tried yoga? Oh no, I can't get into all of them bendy positions, or it's too sweaty for me. I'm not into it. Yoga isn't just about the postures. There's 8 different limbs to yoga, and sitting in meditation is practicing yoga. Breathwork, pranayama is an element of yoga. So if you meditate, you're practicing yoga. Yeah. If you're doing breathwork, you're practicing yoga. It's not just the postures, the asanas, which is what they're called. So I wanted to explain that and get people to understand what that was, but then also telling people about modern day stress, the different brainwave states that it puts us into. And a lot of us are running around in high beta brainwave constantly, like just ticking over. So the fight, flight or freeze, because we're just narrowly going from one stress to another, to traffic jams, to dropping the kids off at school, to getting into work on time, to paying the bills. There's all those things where we're not giving ourselves any rest, or the body any rest for it to rest, to be in restoration. It's constantly in the parasympathetic nervous system. And it's like, how do we get into the sympathetic nervous system and understand that if we sit and we can just sit and observe our breath, observe our thoughts, notice how they make us feel. We could listen to a guided meditation, or we could stare at a candle flame or a photograph and just allow the body to be still, and to just then allow those endorphins to begin to, and dopamine and serotonin to flood through the body instead of cortisol and adrenaline.
Do you know what I'm thinking now? Yeah. I'm thinking, Jungle Book and the snake with the eyes. That's what I was feeling like then when you were talking. You were dead, hypnotic. I was like that.
Well, it's the NLP. It's the NLP. Yeah, I'm hypnotising, It
is, but it is so powerful. And I
might make you do some things in a minute. Have you got the cameras on, Calvin?
Properly? No. No, so, yeah, and again.
I thought I was boring, yeah.
No, I was like that. I thought in a minute it's going to go to sleep. Like Baloo then for a minute. I loved it. Yeah.
So it's in that chapter, it literally talks about what's yoga, how can it help you, what is stress, what brainwaves does yoga take you into. So it takes you from high beta into theta typically. There's different levels of brainwave. And theta is the brainwave that we live in as kids, the imagination, and everything is like, wow, there's so many questions, and it's quite hypnotic. So meditation can take you there. And then it can really, if you're getting into it, the pineal gland can then start to open up and magnetize. And that is when we start to change the energy in the body, and we start to release the stress from the body, which is causing the disease. And then the body can flow and the energy can flow.
And it sounds, some people go, oh, that's, missing my dad's words, mumbo bloody jumbo.
Yeah.
Right? But there's so much science behind it, and there's so much evidence now. And I know Dr. Joe Dispenza,
who I reference in the book because a lot of them don't know.
So again, so many studies now about how it's so powerful for healing, and we absolutely 100% advocate for all of it.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing about with the faded woman that we just talked about before is about my glasses fell off. The stress and how stress.
Well, that's most of what it is. It's modern day stress. 70% of doctors' visits are down to stress. And it doesn't have to be that way.
I feel like when we explain to our clients the impact of this systemic stress, like the constant, it's almost like the dripping tap is constant. And then when people say, I can't, like some of our clients go, I can't lose any weight. Well, you won't, because your body is pumped full of cortisol, and your cortisol is there to keep you alive. So no, you're not going to lose weight because your body's just surviving at the moment. So until we get that under control, that's not going to happen. So let's make that a priority. And, all of these things. And then when they can see it and you can make it real for them in their eyes, then they get it.
Yeah. And that goes back to its self-awareness. And meditation allows you to tap into your own consciousness, because it allows you to then sit with your thoughts, which some people don't like doing because they're scared. That's why people will numb ourselves with drink or to relax or phones or gambling or going out with other people. When we tell people to sit, it's frightening for some people because they're like, I don't want to sit with my thoughts. And oh my God, how did they make me feel? So I've got friends who still feel like that now, and it's not their time yet, but a lot of us are. It's okay, because they're just thoughts. You're going to observe how they make you feel, and if they make you feel sad, that's okay. If they make you feel happy, that's okay. If they make you feel angry, that's okay. You're just observing them, and you're allowing them to come up so that you can let them go.
I think one of the biggest things, the biggest surprises for me, was a shock really, I think, was that the physical pain of living with like fibromyalgia, again, that's a mask. So, and what I mean by that is the nervous system doesn't want us to feel pain, doesn't want us to feel pain, but physical pain is easier to deal with than emotional pain. And so the physical pain is just
it's
there
that focus.
It's to give you the focus so you don't have to focus on the stuff that's hard work. And that sounds bonkers, but when you've done the work and you know that the pain can go, it makes complete sense.
Yeah. And again, it all starts back to awareness. So when you have awareness of how you think and how you feel, and you're reconnecting to who you are, that's when the work begins, and you can be curious, and that's when you can start to see other options. And oh my God, I have got options, I have got choices. Oh, but that's scary because I only ever know this pain. And what if I don't know what's on the other side? Yeah. But it's so liberating to know that there's so much more on the other side.
So much wisdom on the other side of it.
And so that's why I was dead passionate about writing my book, or the chapter, to be part of a great collaboration. I met some great people. It was all online, but I've got some good connections from it's a great book. It's an easy read. But it's awareness, because that's the first port of call in anything. When you are aware and you've got a light shining on who you are, what your passions are, what your purpose are, what your strengths are, what your dark side is. We've all got a dark side. There's a contrast. We've all got shadow work to do, all of it. But when you have that light shine on it and you go, wow, my God, I didn't realize this was happening, and you work through it, it's great because it's so much lighter and you can let go of a lot of stuff. But then when you start to see it in other people, it's like, oh, you want to shine a light on it, but they've got to have the light shine on it for themselves. And that's why we have to wait until people are ready to come for us to help them.
Very true. So tell me where we can get the Successful Mind from. Amazon. Is it? Cool.
Amazon or our website, same as yours.
Okay.
And I think if you live in Washington, it's in a library, a really it's like a big thing. I just remember Eric saying to me, do you know that because this is being published in paperback that it will go into this
repository,
particular amazing library in Washington.
Wow.
So if you're ever in Washington, go and
I'll go and check it out. And I think if anybody's listening or watching that's ready to do the Life Freedom Method, then it's a process. Mm-hmm. And what we've done is we've broken it down into 3 levels. So there's the full-on level.
The full shebang.
The full shebang. Did we call it platinum, gold and silver? Because we didn't. We called it light, but we couldn't call it light, could we? So it's almost got platinum, gold. Platinum and gold, they're the main ones. And then there's some lighter touch stuff as well, which is silver. So just get in touch. It'll be on our website.
Yeah.
But if you're ready to do the work, then we're ready too.
And you can start with the book.
Yeah.
And you can start with our free resources on the website as well as meditations on there and the quiz.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've enjoyed that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Best-selling author.
And
Dr. Jules Kelly. Oh, I've got an itchy nose. That means we're going to have a row.
That means you're going to lie. We're going to have a row.
Oh, I think so. I don't row very often, do I? I know.
No, I don't think we've had a row.
We haven't, had we?
Maybe we have one. We're on a podcast one day.
Proper humdinger.
Real rage. Sacred rage. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your story on Faith and Woman's. A lot of people will hear this and it will really, really help them.
Yeah. And thank you, love, for being such a belter.
Okay. Namaste.
Ta-ra.